Hello basketball coaches and basketball players, my name is Alan from Al's Basketball Training, and today I'm going to talk to you about how to become a professional basketball coach. So I was asked this question by a subscriber about how to become a professional basketball coach. Now, of course, this is going to be different no matter where you are in the world, so this is going to be kind of like the North American version. So in North America, there is the NBA, there is also the G League, which used to be called the D League, which is kind of like the development team for league for the NBA. Then there's also a few smaller leagues, like, I don't know if they're still around, I should have checked this out before I made this video, but there's also the ABA, the American Basketball Association. They kind of made a comeback a few years ago. And then there's also a couple of leagues in Canada that, as a player, you don't really get paid all that much, but at least you're playing professionally and you might have a chance to go somewhere and make more money afterwards. Now, there's also a lot of different ways of looking at being a professional coach. Technically, being a professional coach means that you're getting paid to coach basketball. And while this doesn't have to be necessarily having to make the NBA, in the States, you can actually get paid to coach high school basketball. Up here in Canada, not really. It's a volunteer kind of ordeal. So up here in Canada, much different than the States. Down in the States, you do get a pay majority of the time. So that's one way. Now, another way that you can get paid as a basketball coach is if you create either a league like kind of like a house league where you can pay your coaches. Now, that does get pretty expensive. So depending on the house league, you might want to be volunteer at that point. But then there is Rep and AAU. Now, most of the time, these coaches are volunteer coaches. There is a business model that you can make them paid coaches. I've made that in another video, and I'll link that in a card if I remember. I hope I do. If I did, it's there. And but anyways, that is another way that you can become a paid coach. Now, there's also being a trainer. A lot of players call their trainers coaches, so you could look at it that way as well. If you know a lot about the game of basketball, you can get people to pay you to teach them about basketball, which is what I do here in Hamilton, Ontario. Now, there is a benefit to being a volunteer coach for basketball. If you want to make it into a paid role, as a volunteer, you're learning the sport. Think of it as an internship. And then, after you've learned enough and you become a good enough coach, you might have the ability to eventually become a paid basketball coach. Now, up here in Canada, one way that you can do that is they have multiple levels of coaches. They've changed it to some weird wording. I don't understand it. Any coach that has been around for ages don't really understand it either. But it used to be levels 1 through 4 and 5. So I'm a level 3 coach. They changed it to some weird wording, but whatever. A level 3 coach in Canada can be in most colleges and universities, can be a head coach. So yeah, I got that going for me. But again, you're not going to be getting paid millions to coach basketball in Canada, and unless you're coaching at a college or university level or higher in the States, you're not going to be getting paid a ton either. But going back to the training, why volunteering is so good is because you can volunteer to coach your 10 or 12 players, and then from there, you might be able to get 2 or 3 players from that team to train with you. And at $40 to $50 to $60 per hour, and they were to train once or twice a week, at that point, you're now getting let's say 2 players out of the 12 want to train with you. Now you're getting an extra $100 a week, where before you didn't have that. So that at least gets you around $400 a month. Now, you can scale this quite large. So up here in Canada, there's some coaches that actually coach 2, 3, and 4 teams. Now, if you can get 3 or 4 players, on average for me, it's usually around 3 players when I used to volunteer coach. It used to be about 3 players per team, and I was coaching 2 teams at the time. So that's 6 players. And from there, 6 players at $50 per hour, and they're all training once a week. you're now looking at some good $300 a week, which is about $1,200 a month, and that's not bad. Believe me, that's not bad money, considering that you would be only working 6 hours a week. That's a fantastic part-time job. And then what you're hoping for is word of mouth. You're hoping for those 3 or 6 players to go and tell their friends who also play basketball, and then you can do some deals where you're like, hey, if you tell somebody about me, you get half off your next session, that kind of thing. There's many different business models that you can run yourself, but that is one way that you can do it. But this all comes down to, do you know basketball? You can't just be a personal trainer who's like, hey, I got muscles, I'm strong, I got this. You gotta know basketball. I may be a little overweight. That's gonna change very soon, but this is from a knee surgery, so this is gonna go away. But anyways, you have to know basketball. There's a ton of trainers and coaches in this area who say, hey, I'll train you for $10 an hour. I wouldn't go with them. $10 an hour is less than minimum wage up here in Canada. Keep that into perspective. But these are some ways that you can be a professional basketball coach, a paid basketball coach. Anyways, I hope that this video has helped some of you coaches and trainers out there. If it has, hit that like button and subscribe, and I'll see you guys again tomorrow for another daily basketball video. I did just record this on my phone, and I'm using a new Rode video mic, so let me know how the audio sounds.